Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Diamonds here, back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at what is the best school in Wizard101. This is basically mostly going to be in PvE, not PvP. So if you're looking for a PvP school, I don't think this is the video for you. The schools that we're going to be ranking by is by strategy, spells, and PvE. So basically this is not like personal preference. This is not me being like for another school and not being against another school. This is all gonna be facts, and yeah, so let's get into it. First up, we have Storm School. Storm School is the hardest hitting school out of the 7 schools. It has 99 damage per pip. However, it has the least health, least resist, and little to no healing. It's a very big struggle early game because you get 70% accuracy, which means you're going to be fizzling a ton. But once you get to like level 100 and you get that Mally robe and you get better resist late game, it gets really fun late game. It is really good in team play because if you need a hitter, you got a hitter. The spells are really cool. They're really good spells. The looks of the spells are fantastic. Storm is definitely one of the top tier schools in my opinion. In PvP, I'd say it's not the worst, right? It's not the worst. You can PvP with it, so that's fine. It's a really fun school to play, but I really don't recommend playing it as your first school, because if you don't have a good pet and like this is your first time playing, it's gonna be really hard to play Storm because you're not gonna be like used to it. It's not the easiest school to play, and yeah, I don't recommend having Storm as your first school, but definitely have it as a school later on. Like maybe like your 3rd or 2nd, 4th wizard. So yeah, that's Storm. Next up, we have Ice. Alright, next up we have Ice. Ice is the most tankiest school in the game, which means it has the lowest amount of damage out of the 7 schools, but it is very good on health and shields and buffs. But the problem is it has no healing spells. So Ice is all about outlasting your opponent, just surviving until your opponent dies. That's basically what Ice is about. Ice is a really good school to solo, but it's also really slow because you don't have much like powerful hits. You just have a lot of health. It's not the best in team play because I would rather pick like maybe like a Jade Death over an Ice. Well, like sometimes Ice could be good in some fights, you never know. Ice is not like out of the picture of team play. You can still do some team play with Ice, but it's just not really picked over other schools. Ice is very good at PvP, so if you want to plan on playing PvP after you make an Ice, that's completely fine. Ice also has some really cool spells, like Frost Lord, I think. Lord of Winter is probably one of my favorite spells in the game. Yeah, Ice is a pretty cool school all around, so I definitely do recommend it. That's basically all I have to say about Ice. Alright, so up next we have Fire School. Fire School is the 2nd most offensive school in the game. So the offensive schools go Storm and then there's Fire. Fire is right behind Storm as the 2nd highest damage in the game. I am a Fire, so I personally like Fire. It has great damage and great overtime hits, which means your opponents burn over rounds. It does damage over rounds to the opponent. Has some really cool spells like Raging Bull, FFA, Fire Dragon. Those are some really cool fire spells there is. It's a very well-rounded school overall. It definitely is a great school for your first wizard. Um, it doesn't have the best health in the game because it's definitely an offensive school, but it's also really well-rounded because it's not the worst health in the game. In fire PvP, I say it's pretty good. I'm not a PvP legend like some other people. Like, I'm not like Blake PvP, you know, but I think fire is a pretty good school to start PvP on. So yeah, that's basically all about fire. I'll see you next school. Alright, so next we have Death School. Death School has really good health. It is great to solo, one of the best solo schools in the game. It's also one of the best support schools in the game. The reason is it has Faint, Dark Pact, as like universal support spells that are just great in team play. I made a death because I wanted a support school because I already have a fire and that's a damage school. But the problem is it doesn't get an AoE spell, attack all the enemies spell, until level 48, which could be a problem if this is your first wizards and you don't have a pet that gives you an AoE spell. So that's why I recommend doing death as like your second or third school. It's also really good to solo because it has a little thing called drain, and that's when half of the damage you do turns into health for you. So if let's say I do 1,000 damage with a spell, right? That means I get 500 health back, and that's why it's a really good solo school. It's because you can go on for a long time. The problem is at like really high level, there's a pay to win gear called Jade Gear, which you need to open packs for. So if you have a friend that can hit you up, then you'll be fine. But if you are a free to play player, and you want to be like a really good support death, then you're gonna have to find a way to get packs for Jade Gear. But that's completely optional, but it is recommended. So yeah, that's basically it for death. Death is really good in PvP. I said that, and yeah. Alright, see you next school. Alright, so Myth School. Myth School is definitely a really good attacking school. It's not the best attacking school, but it definitely is a pretty cool attacking school. It is pretty good. It has good health, and it has some really useful spells that people sleep on. It has Shatter. It has Stuns. It has Earthquake, which deletes all the blades. It has a lot of good spells. It has really good damage, so that means it could be an attacking school, maybe if there's not a fire or a storm on your team. It has minions. The specialty of this school is minions, and it's not really that useful. Maybe if you do monstrology, then it'll kind of be useful, but minions are just not my type of thing. Myth is a really good school to solo because it's just a well-rounded school. It has a lot of damage, it has a lot of health, it has good buffs. Myth is also really good in PvP, so I recommend this school, but if you like another school better, then do it. Yeah, so that's basically all I have to say. Alright, so Balance. Balance is arguably one of the best support schools. It's mainly one of the best support schools because it has global buffs. Like Balance Blade, it could be a blade for any school, which makes it good for team play. But this school is terrible as a solo. If you're soloing this school, then I don't even know what you're on. unless you know exactly what you're doing and you are a very experienced Wiz player, you should not be soloing the school. I do not recommend this school to be your first wizard, but I do recommend making it later on in the game. It has decent health, but kind of low damage. It has some pretty cool spells though, like raw. That's wait, yeah, raw, and like the worm spell you get, the sandworm spell. Yeah. It's pretty decent in PvP. It used to be good at PvP, but since they nerfed some spells, it's not the best in PvP anymore. The school has some pretty cool history behind it that you can learn about. Krakatopia is basically where the school is, if you're wondering where I am. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say about balance. It's definitely not the best school, but it's a school. You can't really complain about that. It's a support school. For our final school, we have Life. Life is a healing school. The only school in the game that is considered a healing school. This school is not an attacking school. It is not a tank school. It is not a support school. It is a healing school. It has really good health, really good healing spells, bad damage, and it's not really good to solo because you don't get an AoE until level 58. This school is probably one of the best schools in team play, so if you have any friends to quest with for the whole game, go for it. Make it Life. It is pretty good in PvP in this update. Definitely one of the best PvP schools if you have the right gear. And it has some really cool spells. I tried making a Life, but it personally got boring at like Dragonspire because that's where you don't really have any good AoE spells, and if you don't have any friends to quest with, it can definitely not be a good school. But yeah, if you have friends, go make a Life. If you don't have friends, go make a good solo school. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say about Life. I think that's the last school that we went over. So yeah, that's basically it. Alright, just want to say guys, thank you guys so much for watching the whole video. It really does mean a lot. I probably will be starting upload again, finally, because I got that air conditioning problem in my room done. So it's not scorching hot sweating in my room anymore. Definitely going to be streaming a lot more. And just want to let you guys know that. That's basically all I have to say. Everyone take care. Have a great week.